takes a lot of teamwork, a lot of travel, a lot of sacrifice by them all, but I wouldn't want to do it without them. Thanks to all my guys back at DeBroux Custom Work for keeping the business running while I'm away. And special thanks to Brad Geisel. He's our in-house mechanic. With Brad at our shop, I'm able to run my business, all while coming up with crazy new ideas for horsepower and technology. Brad does the nuts and bolts of the Playin with Fire engine. He ensures that the engine compartment is in showroom condition at all times. Brad builds an awesome cat platform. This year, every week, Brad built his version of a cat masterpiece, only for me to destroy it with a new idea or a product, trying to make some more power. And we broke it every week. It came apart every Monday. Every Monday morning was a remove, diagnose, replace, and rebuild an engine that weighs more than a 1.5 mini rods. We make a great team in the shop. I get to dream up ideas and programming. Brad grabs the wrenches and makes it happen, all while getting it done looking nice. Thank you to our class sponsor, Dr. Preload. Also want to say thanks to Mac Trailers, Sempico Oil, and Weimer Turbos. Playin with Fire was lucky enough to have 3 new sponsors this year: Bennett Transportation and Logistics, Ace Dorn, and Cat Reman. Bennett and Ace have been a great asset to us. It was fun getting to meet their great customers and their drivers at their track tailgate parties. Dave and Brenda and the rest of their team at Bennett are just great people to work with. Cat Reman, what a great way to showcase some of their products. No one can argue about cat durability after what I put some of their parts through. One of the major influences in my life has been the fire service. In my 27 years of service, the fire department has taught me countless examples of what to do, what not to do, what to appreciate, and what to strive for in my life. 4 weeks ago, I was honored to be appointed as the fire chief for New Franken Fire Department. And I've been, like the fire service, I've been involved in pulling long enough to realize how it has influenced my life, how it's influenced my family, and how we want to raise our boys. At Bowling Green, while he was sharpening his tires, I had a conversation with Larry Kester years ago, and my boys were looking over his minis, and Larry and I struck up a conversation about some of the pressure that I was feeling about having my kids on the road all summer long, and what they were missing out back home. Larry looked at me and told me, he said, "Never be ashamed to raise your family in the pits. Everyone here has exceptional work ethics and are great examples for your family, for your boys. We couldn't ask for a better example to show our boys how to be great competitors, to show positive sportsmanship in an activity we get to do as a family. Thank you to the NTPA, everybody in this room, for being great role models to our boys. It is truly a blessing to be able to compete in such a sport with my family by my side. Thank you."
We move on now to our Dr. Preload Super Semi of the Year, sponsored by Sempico Lubricants, and Dave Stevenson joins us here on stage. I would like to say before I'll do it later. The winner of our 2023 NTPA Dr. Preload Super Semi of the Year award goes to Chief Ryan DeBroux. And before he comes back, he'll just collect his thoughts. I would like to say, you mentioned in your remarks about your sons and your boys. Morley, Michigan. I'm up on the tower. Here comes a young man. He's got the team colors on. He walks up. He says, "Mr. Riley, my dad told me to give this to you." I was like, "Okay, thanks." And we sat there and had a nice little conversation. But he was such a great young man, and that really, I think, kind of echoes what you're talking about, being able to raise kids in the pits and be able to have that big family bond throughout the entire year. So again, congratulations.
Thank you. One of the unexpected side effects of doing this sport is how close you get to be with everybody. I think almost everybody knows what our golf cart looks like. We got interviewed at Bowling Green a couple years ago, and the first question he asked me was the fact that my golf cart broke down, and they missed out seeing all those kids piled on riding around. And this has been such an important part of our family, but everyone in here has got part of it, and you can all relate to it. So I appreciate it, and we're super happy to be part of it. Thank you.
I'm pretty good at the show stuff, guys. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm gonna say. So I got us muted. It wasn't when I played the opening video there. Welcome everybody to Let's Grow Polling Live. Jason Schultz here with the Beer Money Polling Team. Mike Idle, our co-host tonight. Larry Richwine is at Epcot Center with his grandkids, and Matt Hart is out. He had some family stuff going on tonight, but we are joined by a very very special season, Ryan, for your family. PPL points champion, NTPA points champion at the highest level, and then also you got puller of the year, right, as well with the NTPA, Ryan.
Yep, and then we're able to sneak out an Enderley win also.
Yeah, so that's so I don't know if you can I don't know if you'll ever be able to do this again, Ryan. So I really, but what people don't realize is I've known you forever. When we did our polls in Richland Center, you brought your stock semi truck down back in the days. Lee Pravacek and the guys like that. So we're going to but before we jump right into this, don't forget everybody, the Louisville letters are coming out pretty quick. If you want to win tickets to Louisville, head over to fullpoll.us. There's 4 classes highlighted: 2-wheel drives, 4-wheel drive trucks, super stocks, the dual of the fuels, and then also the super farm tractors. You vote who you pick who you think's going to get into the farm show at fullpoll.us, and then you can win free tickets to Louisville. And Louisville is an event where you actually need a ticket and to sit down. And it has been selling out on Friday and Saturday nights the last couple of years. So I want to do a quick shout out for there. So Ryan, kind of do the introduction. Where you're from? Tell us about the family. I did see Johnny Payne this weekend down at PRI. He did want me to bring up the golf cart. Him and the boys on the golf cart tonight as well. So, but Ryan, if you could just kind of talk about your family and Crystal, and we'll kind of get into this, and we'll start putting questions up on the screen. But again, on behalf of Mike and I and all of the polling world, thank you. The semi trucks are always a fan favorite, and it's just they put on an awesome show, Ryan. So go ahead, big guy.
Well, Jason, we met so long ago. It was before the monsoon seasons at Richland Center.
Yes, yeah, before we got rained out 5 years in a row. So
right. So my name is Ryan DeBroux. I live in New Franken, Wisconsin, and I got wife Crystal. She's the behind the scenes leader of everything. She takes care of everything behind the scenes, and couldn't do it without her. I've got 3 boys, like I said before: Marshall, Blake, and Chase. Marshall's gonna get his license right after Christmas. Blake is 14, and Chase is 11. They travel with me all over the place. They help out at my business, DeBroux Custom Work, and they're always in the pits with us and helping me at the track. My company is DeBroux Custom Work. We're based out of New Franken, Wisconsin, which is just east of Green Bay. And the biggest thing we do is liquid manure application. This is dairy country. Right next to me in Kewaunee County, there's one traffic light, 19,000 people, and I think 135,000 dairy cows. we travel all over for pulling, and people have like chickens and hog farms and stuff. I only know of one guy that's got a couple hundred hogs, and that's it. It's dairy, 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 dairy. There's some custom crop guys, but DeBroux Custom Work, we do liquid application for the dairy farms. We work for big and small. On the small side, 50 cows, big side, 9,000 cows. So we have a full spread. We've got up to 35, 40 employees this time of year. Doug Borth's been contacting me for the last 3 weeks to do this. And we literally just got done on Saturday at 3:30 in the morning. So anything we do now is elective, but getting all of our customers covered, we just got that done. So it's just been crazy. So
awesome. I love your speech at the NTPA banquet. I did a little bit of show prep on that. Mike put together your stats for the season. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But the coolest thing you said was that Larry Kester said, and if for those of you, I started the show 5 minutes early tonight to play that video. Say what Larry said to you again. That touched me, Ryan.
I think it was like 2018, something like that. We were at Bowling Green. We were there early because we have a PPL pull Monday night in Washington, PA. So we get there early. Larry Kester was always sharpening tires. I mean, that's always sharpening tires. And we were walking around the boys, and I don't know anything about gas motors. I don't know nothing about that technology. I have a weed eater, a 4-wheeler snowmobile, and my wife's vehicle. That's about it for gas engines. And the boys were looking at it, and he was nice enough to let them crawl around and check it out. And then we just struck up a conversation right away. And he's like, how's it going? I said, man, I'm getting some grief. I'm getting some, feedback about that. My boys are always gone. They're never around. They can't play baseball. In comparison, some of their friends, they go to the same campground every weekend, and they know who they're going to see, stuff like that. And they're not in the pulling circuit. They're not in the pulling world, so they can't really appreciate exactly what we have. And that's when Larry's like, Ryan, I raised the family in the pits, and don't ever be ashamed to do that. He goes, this is a great environment. Everyone's working hard. Everyone, you can have a pile of money like Jason Schultz, but just because you have a pile of money, it doesn't mean it's going to be successful. Right? He does home loans, by the way. Anyway.
Hey, well plugged. I like that.
But even no matter what you have for money, you need help. You need help to get your vehicle ready. You need help to get it there. You need help while you're gone back home. You need help everywhere. You depend on people. It is a team sport. Just not everyone gets to see the whole team. And Larry said, this is the perfect environment. Your boys see you work hard. They're part of it. And the other thing, I don't want to jump off topic, but another good friend of mine, he explained to me how you have to stop at some point and do stuff with your family. And I can tell you personally, I would be the perfect person to work 6 or 7 days a week and miss my kids growing up. Without those two conversations with those two different individuals, I can totally see myself being the guy that would, one day wake up and go, my kids are grown, and I missed out on all those opportunities. So raising kids in the pits and pulling, it forces us to get our work done, get this thing fixed, get this thing washed up, get it loaded, travel out of state. And it forces us to also spend time as a family. And I mean, the Playin with Fire team is way bigger than my family and, Brad in the shop and the guys back at DeBroux Custom. Any one of those things doesn't happen, this doesn't happen. This is just an astronomical amount of work. But it's been a very important part of our life and raising our boys. So, that's kind of the background about that part.
Yep. Again, Let's Grow Pulling Live. We're live with Ryan DeBroux. Your PPL, is it semi? Is it super semi? What Cheats Association call it, Ryan?
Hot rod.
PPL calls it hot rod semi.
Okay.
And NTPA on the Grand National, it is
Super semi. I only know because I just spent an hour on both websites compiling all the stats, so I had to label it correctly. Yep, it's super semi and hot rod semi.
If and again, we'll get into stats in a little bit, but Larry Richwine's watching from Disney World, Disney World's in Florida, right? But he's normally on the show, and he says score so far: Ryan 1, Jason 0. So I got to sharpen up my deck a little bit.
The points are made up, and the score doesn't matter.
One thing, Ryan, and Russ Dostal is a super fan of pulling. He's not, I think he has the largest collection of pulling T-shirts there is in the world. But this comment right here, Ryan, one of the nicest pullers I've ever met. Ryan, nobody spends as much time talking to fans before and after the pull, and the amount of people that come up to see your truck, it's insane. When I needed baby powder in Rockwell because it was hot, I came to you. What was that? What was that?
Happy Nuts.
What is it?
Happy Nuts.
Happy Nuts. So that's a sponsorship that we need to work on, Ryan. If the Beer Money pulling team and Playing with Fire needs to be sponsored by Happy Nuts, I'm telling you, as a man that's a little heavy and forgot to bring his powder, Happy Nuts saved me Saturday night at the North Iowa Nationals. And Ryan DeBroux, I didn't. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say before I say something stupid. But Happy Nuts.
I was wondering this week if that was coming up.
Yeah. Oh, no. I wasn't going to forget that at all. I was not. You got to say Happy Nuts. You got to say Happy Nuts. So, no, because you were like, Jason, it's hot. You need anything? I'm like, yeah, that's a little. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, come on back to the trailer. No, it's amazing. But what is it? What is it about your semi truck? I mean, Ryan, and you always have the hood up and you explain to people how it works. I mean, just that is so important. And if you're a puller and you're watching the podcast, or if you're listening to this later this week, and most pullers do this, but really take that time. And Ryan, like, just talk about why you do that with the fans.
For that fan interaction, I can't tell you how many years ago at Hillsboro, sitting in the crowd, and a couple, or the row in front of me, he knew what he was talking about. He knew that those tractors were turning 4,000 RPM. I never thought that was possible. He was telling me boost numbers, and I'm a mechanical kind of guy, and I'm like, man, that was so awesome to hear that, to get the background, to know why you can't, why someone couldn't get off the line, and you think to yourself, man, you had all week to get this right. How can you not get off the line? How hard is that? You can't even move it. When that guy gave some information, and once we started advancing in the levels and start doing the national stuff, we always get visited by the firefighters from all over, and we always get visited from truck drivers, plus pulling fans. But those are two groups that we always talk to. And kind of like my grandpa, I have the gift of gab, so I can hang out and talk to him. But I think it's important for fans to know some of those details. I'm not giving them the recipe book, but they need to know that we're turning 4,500 RPM. They need to know that we have turbocharger that's spinning 80,000 RPM. They just can't imagine that kind of information. They don't know we can burn over 70 gallons of fuel in a mile. They just don't think that stuff is possible. And the other thing that works out well is the semi-class is usually the end of the night. And being at the end of the night, when the event is happening, they come out of the parking lot, walk through the pits. Every other competitor, the four-wheel drive guys, the two-wheelers, the mini rods, they're all getting staged and teched and scaled. They're not there. But we're so far down in the show that, I don't have my fire gear on yet. I'm not even close to ready. I'm probably an hour and a half or 2 hours away from pulling. So I can get that last minute fan interaction with people as they're walking through. And, then they hit the national anthem and there's something going down the track. So then I have time while the show starts to get ready. And when we're at the end of the night, everyone's leaving the stands. Everyone's going to be walking through the pits. And, some of these other competitors have been done for an hour, hour and a half. They already got their shower. They already made a drink and, went to bed, or, they're walking around relaxing for the rest of their evening. And we come essentially hot off the track. I can't tell you how many times that we have to split the crowd just so we can get back into our pit spot. But we get out open up the door and pull the hood, and we'll sit and talk with people for oftentimes an hour, hour and a half. I mean, some of those times we had 50 people standing there, and they get to see something up close. But then they also, we share our story with them, and they get to understand what's going on. And then that also is a nice little shot for us to mention our sponsors, which we'll get into later. So That gives us awesome one-on-one time with them, and they appreciate it. So
now you touched on the fire department thing a little bit while this video loads. I think this looks like Rockwell this year, the NTPA Grand National, North Iowa Nationals. But your truck has a ton of fire department themes. Talk about your involvement with the fire department, and then what you put on the truck. And then there's some JP Pulling Productions had some really good photos, Ryan, that we can zoom. But the detail on your truck is just awesome.
About the fire service, that was going to be my life plan. I went to school to be a full-time firefighter. Applied at City of Green Bay. We live right outside the City of Green Bay. We have season tickets to the Packers. Green Bay is where I wanted to end up. And back at that time, it was like 800 people applying for a job. So we went through the whole interview process, and we were in the top. I was in the top 12 people, something like that. And then something happened with what was it? It ended up putting a hiring freeze on when I was supposed to get hired. So that happened 2 years, and then I reapplied, and I think I was I think I was number 6 or something like that out of 800 again. And I knew we were going to get hired, and had some problems at a old employer. I told them I was going to be leaving in 2 months, and they hired some college consultant, and he's like, "Oh, you got too many people working in Green Bay." And they said, "Well, Ryan's leaving anyway." So they let me go. And then they kind of fibbed a little bit on why they let me go, so they wouldn't pay me unemployment. And I was so frustrated at that point in my life that, that was my dream. That was everything. I also, during that time, started DeBroux Custom Work, and the plan was to be a full-time firefighter. That was going to be my career, and then run my own business on the side. And, I'm like, man, something's just not right here. This is not supposed to be this hard. And my business was doing great, and I went that way. I went all in on the business. And that was 24 years ago. And, I was pretty bummed out for a long time, but I also became a member of the New Franken Fire Department, my local department. And I've been there for 27 years. And, that was enough involvement to essentially, I don't know, what do you want to say, scratch my itch about being in the fire service. And between my business and New Franken Fire, that kept me busy for a lot of years. Been a firefighter at New Franken. I was one of the lieutenants, and then I was assistant chief for, 4 or 5 years now, something like that. And then November 9th or whatever, it was my anniversary. I was appointed to fire chief, and it's been an enormous part of my life. I mean, those that are involved in the fire service, I've never been in the military. I know Jason is a vet, and it has to be similar to that. I mean, there's people that you trust and work with, but there's nothing like that level of trust. And that's been a rewarding part of my life. And I don't know how many years ago we named this truck Playin with Fire. My wife, Crystal, came up with it. Myself, Brad Geisel, my mechanic, the guy that painted it, the guy that welds the stainless steel pipes, the fire chief, Kevin, he did a lot of the wiring on the 110 volt system on the truck and in my shop. And all of us are firemen. All of us are paid on call firemen. And we used to shoot fire out of the stack all the time. And, you're trying to get back then, 5 times the power out of what it was made for. And now it's over 10 times out of these parts. That's Playin with Fire for multiple reasons. So that's how the truck got its name. And to do this, we wanted to make it a tribute truck, because that was our common link between all of us that worked on it. We came up with a mural system on the back, and it's just, more beautiful than I ever could have dreamed. And it's an awesome wrap. And then We have SCBA bottles behind the cab. That runs our air system on the truck for the brakes and used to be for the suspension. We had to get special permission from NTPA and PPL for that. They say right in the rule book, no pressurized cylinders, and then in parentheses it says except for semis. And that's because they don't want to worry about illegal substances or whatever. But trucks need that for their suspension and stuff. And I called them both up, PPL and NTPA, and said, hey, I want to build a tribute truck, but I don't. You can see the tanks right there behind the cab in that video. I don't want to make this and then have trouble with you. And they said, well, how much pressure they hold? Thinking 120 pounds like a semi. And I'm like 4,500. Wow, 4,500 psi. Is that safe? And I chuckled and I was like, every firefighter in the world has them on their back and goes running into a burning building. And that's the least of what their worries are, is that those tanks. Those tanks are so strong. We literally train for getting down firefighters out, roll them on their back, grab their straps, and two guys pull them out on their straps. We use that tank as a ski. And they're going to come down steps, through the threshold, off the patio, all the way to the front yard, sliding on that tank. So yes, they are safe. And when I'm talking to people at the shows, they're asking questions, what's in them? And I always ask them to choose. And they're like, oh, it's liquid oxygen, or it's propane, or it's NOS, or it's something else like that. And while I'm talking to some pulling fans, someone in the fire service will walk by and they'll look at it and point at it and they'll say, now that's cool. And I tell everyone, I said, it means little to most, but it means everything to a group. And that's the group that the truck was built around. That's the tribute of Playin with Fire.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. If you're watching the show tonight, obviously you're a Ryan DeBroux fan and you've seen him at the polls, but it's a beautiful truck. I'm just flipping through some photos here that are on your Facebook page and sharing some videos there as well. These pictures are from the Mack Trailer Winter Nationals. It's so cool, Ryan, to see semis indoors, especially at Louisville, which is the coup de grace of them all. And again, that's a great segue. If you want to win tickets to the farm show, head over to fullpull.us. Like I said, I think the letters are coming out this week, is the rumors. So once those are out, then obviously you won't be able to make any more picks. But Ryan, what's it like to pull in Louisville and with the semi truck, especially the truck show, where that fan base is different than even the farm show fan base, Ryan? They're there for the Mid-America Truck Show.
Thanks to Mike Connie for putting that event on. It's a super cool. They don't have semis at the farm show, so we're not able to partake in the big farm show. But at that Mack at the Mack Winter Nationals, at the what do they call the big show? MATS.
Mid-America Truck Show.
Normally our class goes 330, 360 on a track. And I think it's 245 to a wall there. And, if somebody was going to tell us, hey, in summertime, we're going to take 100 feet, off your track. All right, fine. No big deal. But when they take 100 feet off your track and send you into a 12-foot high concrete wall, well, that sucker has your undivided attention.
Do they not have the doors open? I thought at the Mack Winter Nationals they flipped the track and you actually pull like at the farm show they can bring the tractors down and they kind of have the sled stage back there. I always had this great vision of just a semi getting a hold and just pulling it right out of Freedom Hall. Does that make sense, or is that garage door shut?
The first year they pulled us towards the door, towards the ramp.
Oh, okay.
But they only have so much smoke tube, and we can't keep going any farther than that. In the first year, they pulled us towards the open door.
Mm-hmm.
I think just to make sure they could stop us and everything else. And Vaughn and his team, with the Bauer built sleds, they just do an awesome job. And to stop us and not break us is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So they've got that figured out, but I mean, that's a heck of a ride. That wall just has your undivided attention. I mean, those tractor classes, you guys get to ride your wheelies and land on your sand pile, and the crowd goes wild, and everything goes for it. There isn't a damn thing that wants to hit that sand pile on this. There's nothing that's right. The hood, the bumper, none of it's made for that. So
it's a big thing in truck and tractor pulling. If you ever hit the beach at Louisville, you're supposed to keep the sand and put it in a shrine or a water bottle. And I talked to a gentleman last week who was hoping to do just that. So you're not looking to collect the little commemorative sand anytime when you get back home. That chrome bumper wants to stay nice and clean when you're in Louisville, I take it.
I'm not looking to collect any, but my wife would love it because she hates that bumper. She wants a new bumper, and she wants me to drive it through the pile just so that she's darn sure that I'm not going to try to fix it or put it back on.
Well, when I win those tickets, I'll make sure and pick one on the 150 side and not at the 250 end of the track, just in case you're running through. Or if I win them for the match show, I guess.
Yeah, the match show is pretty cool. I mean, like Jason said, all the truckers are there. So there's the mural. It turned out so nice. If you see the gray on the axe, if you go to a little bit to the side, that silver on the axe that's right there, that's the color of the wrap, is that silver. And then all of those images are printed onto that silver, and that silver has like a metallic in it. So it jumps out in the sunlight, and the green and the blues, and that's all printed on top of that silver. So it turned out so nice. Now we work with, Auto Trim out of the Valley, and then 1330 Wraps in Green Bay. We work with both of them, and they can do, I don't have a artistic bone in my body to do that kind of stuff. So I can appreciate someone's nice work.
Were you always a big fan of semi-truck pulling? I feel like anyone who gets into pulling always has kind of a backstory. Were you a diehard pulling fan, or was it more something to do with semi-trucks? Kind of what got you there, and what got you to the semi-truck side of things?
Well, that's a good question. My grandpa, he passed away this last year, is a huge influence in my life. But my grandpa Larry took me to Toma when I was a kid. Didn't they pull with 3 tracks there one year?
In the 80s, it was very common. The late 80s, they had, it was a triple track.
I was there with him once there. A couple times I went with him there. And, this used to be my work truck. Used to drive this one every day, pulling a tanker with it. And back when we started, like Jason said, back with Lee Provichek and going down to, what's the name of your city? Richmond Center. We would drop the trailers, wash the trucks, and we had to go see who was going to buy some beer for the weekend. And we went pulling locally and won 3 miles from my house, and went somewhere else on Saturday and had a blast. And essentially that was how the bite happened, I guess you'd say. And that was 14 years ago.
Crazy.
We traveled locally around this area with NEW. Local pulling group. We jumped up and did Badger State, and we competed against like Sonny Greasy with Stacks and Chris and Chris, my 2 buddies, the Crazy KW.
Crazy Kenworth. Yep. Crazy KW.
We had a lot of fun with those guys, and that was basically statewide, a little bit in northern Illinois. And then we started doing some of the national stuff. But anything that was close, the Toma, the Hutchinson, Freeport, that kind of stuff. And did that for a year, and pretty much committed after that to running the circuit. And we ran the whole NTPA and the whole PPL circuit for, last 7 years? I think the last 7 years. And that is a challenge. We would have with NTPA schedule, sometimes you run back to back, but most of the time there's a week off. But it just seemed like the 2 schedules, they didn't overlap, but they just made it full. And any stress you had to get fixed in a hurry and get going. And it's been a ton of work. And we won PPL in 2018. and then this year. So
Are the rules between the two leagues virtually identical? Because it seems like the schedule will be like week 1, you're with NTPA, you turn right around the next weekend, PPL, then back to NTPA, then PPL. Do you have to make any adjustments in those 5 days off, or do you just slide it right in for both? I'm not super well versed in the rules, especially for semi-pulling at those.
just little differences. Like one of them, you had to have a cage around your dampener. One of them required cables around the turbocharger. It was nothing really to just do them, and then because some of them were had to have and some of them were should have, and by doing them both, the only dumb thing is one wanted a white light when you backed up and a yellow light when you're neutral, and the other one wanted a yellow light when you're backing up and a white light when you're neutral. Why they couldn't match the colors, I don't know.
You're flipping bulbs.
Yeah, and it kind of Colin's right. But I don't know why they couldn't agree on colors, but that was about the only thing we really had to switch. Semi-class rules, since you brought it up, we have to weigh, we can't be over 20,000 pounds.
Do that.
Rear axle has to be locked out, can't move. The front drive axle, we're allowed to push down, but you're not supposed to be able to have your back tires come off the ground when you're in competition or hooked to a sled. They want to keep all 8 tires on the ground. You're allowed up to 2 pressure stages of air. So if you want to run a big single like we do, almost everyone's on big singles right now. I think the only one with compounds for sure would be Nikki's Nightmare. Kent Payne builds his engine. So I think he essentially has a lot of the Super Roosters turbo ideas in there. But otherwise, most everyone else is running a big single right now. So we're allowed up to 2 pressures of fuel, have to run regular diesel fuel, has to pass the test. We're allowed to have water injection, no turbo limit. Really not, and then we have to have an OEM block and head.
DOT tires too.
DOT tire casings, yep. Okay. So you're allowed to run virgins or retreads, whatever. You can't cut the tires. I think it's a 10-inch wide tread pattern, and you have to be a DOT casing.
So do you guys have, I was live streaming the pull at Hutchinson, Minnesota this year, and I saw something that, down here in Missouri, we don't see a ton of semi-truck pulling, so I don't get to see a lot of it. And something happened that it got me to thinking, do you guys have independent rear brakes? If the front end comes up, is the truck just going to go where it wants to go?
Yeah, that's part of your setup. Yeah, you can get more grip if you plant all 8 tires real hard, but if you pull both steer tires off, you're along for the ride.
Because there was one at Hutch that it got him up and it just it started drifting towards the center, and it just went to the other track. I don't remember who it was, but just nothing they could do. Just there it went.
Yeah, no, all 8 wheels are all locked in. So you have your lockers, front to back, and then you have lockers side to side. So we're all in. We're all locked in. There's no individual brakes.
I thought this would be a good segue, Mike, to kind of go into Ryan's stats that you put together. And thank you for doing this.
No problem.
Really
it's fun.
you doing this. So
yeah.
I zoomed it out to 150. Can you read that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I've got it on my computer too right here, so I can bounce back and forth between screens.
Okay. So kind of take us through what you put together for Ryan's season.
So we broke it down we looked at NTPA first, and then we look at PPL second, and then I kind of found some averages. And the way I like to do this is what were your finishes basically? I'm a little less concerned with where you went, but how many firsts, how many seconds, how many thirds, fourths, fifths outside of top 5, and then what's our average finish, what's our average distance, things just like that. And this told an interesting story when I started looking through, because a points champion, you're kind of anticipating that the first place is going to be stacked. They're going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 wins on the season, though that's not always the case. As we saw with Adam Bauer this year, you don't have to have any wins to win a points championship. But it looked, what I saw from this, so at PPL, your average finish was like 2.265, if you can make that an adjective, place. So you finished right between second and third for NTPA. Your average finish was about the same for PPL. You pulled out a win with each organization. Now, the thing that was really tricky putting this together, in both NTPA and PPL, you can get first, second, third, fourth place points without actually finishing in that physical order at that location that night, as long as you finished in that order within the people running for points in your organization, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I did, these are true finishing orders. One at Toma. Hey, Wisconsin guy who got into truck and tractor pulling because he liked Toma. I want to tell the story on that one because I have a special story for me and my family about your Friday night win at Toma. But I want to hear it from Ryan. So Friday night at Toma, second hook of the year. That's after Hutchison. So second place of the year, first win of the year. Any big memories on that one?
Toma has kicked my butt. Almost nothing. I don't know if I've ever brought the truck home from the second night on Toma with the motor running. Can't see it behind me up on the shelf. We got a block that's blown out from Toma. We've wrecked everything there. And not just about Toma, but our whole 2023 season, I made junk out of this motor every weekend. There was one Monday that we did not have to take the motor out of the truck. We'll talk about, Brad, and that's, Brad, my mechanic, every Monday he had to pick up the pieces. We winched it on the trailer almost weekly. We made more power this year, and we surpassed the way our lubrication system was set up. And in business and pulling anything, I always say you got to pay to go to school. Well, I got a freaking college degree this year. We made so much junk. And at Toma, the first night, it just ran awesome. And I think, did it rain out on the second night this year? At Toma?
Session 5 got rained out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, actually, Toma, I was ready to rock and roll. I thought I had it set and ready to rock and roll for him the next night. And maybe that was the one time it stayed together. But after Hutch, after even the Pullers Championship, the motor came apart. After Osceola for PPL, the motor came apart. Hutchinson, the motor came apart after that. Toma, I think it stayed together. And then everything else, Bowling Green, Morley, Michigan, Rockwell, every one of them, we hurt the motor. At Bowling Green, that's a big trip for us. It's Morley on Saturday, Washington, PA on Monday, and then Bowling Green. And that's where we sealed off our championship at BG. And the first time we went down the track, you can listen to it. It just sounds like hell. We're blowing bearings out of this thing all year long. And that was Ryan DeBroux's fault. We upped the power, and we basically surpassed what our lubrication system was capable of. We had a product fighting a product, and we have it figured out. So now I'm very happy because I don't want to go back to school again on that. That was an expensive little lesson and a lot of work.
I love hearing this. Hey, Jason, scroll back up to the top of that sheet and let's focus on both of them. So, I put it like first through fifth, and then I have outside of fifth. And then one that I have is did not hook, and I always like to keep track of that because, those are potential points lost. And Ryan is actively telling us about putting it back together and working on it and the mechanical issues and pushing that engine to the limit. That's the story of a man where you would expect to see 1 or 2 or 3 did not hook. Scroll down that for both organizations, and let's see. There's not a single one. So that speaks volumes of you and your crew and your family. And like you said, this is a team sport. To me, that's where you won your championship right there then, is by the ability 100%. To be a problem solver and to stay on the track and stay in that second and third spot. That's impressive. That's cool. That's cool to break down.
There's, a couple of years ago, was it 2020? We were 7 points to the lead going into BG, and we had a a problem with the motor. Didn't move a foot. Everybody beat me, and I lost my 7-point cushion in one run. And then the next night, I didn't beat the guy that I needed to beat, and we came up short. And it's like, man, this is so hard to win. And this year at BG, the truck should not have ran. We fired it up on ether, which for us, we never start on ether. With being electronic fuel injection, essentially our computer system has a startup mode or whatever, so the timing is different and the delivery is different. Once it fires up, gets going, it's 100 times a second. This thing's recomputing and following our fuel maps and timing maps. And we literally forced this sucker to run. As long as the starter could turn it over, we got it ether started. We got all the bearings to clearance themselves in the pits. And as long as it was going to fire to go down the track, we were going to go. And I mean, you can watch our BG video and you can hear this thing just knocking to beat the band. Crystal, that blue box on that shelf right there, bring me that. Like I said, we had lubrication problems. We literally melted the bearings right out of this thing. We destroyed a block and a crank and a bunch of parts at BG. I don't know if you guys can see. This is our bearing. This is not a thrust bearing. That's how hot it got. It turned to liquid. It oozed out the side and reformed. So
Wow.
it's just, I'm going to grab one thing. I want to show you.
It was forged, or what do they call that? It was cast. You melted it and recast it.
These are our pistons. Can you see those bearings? That's the rods. There's just nothing left to them. This one turned to liquid and came right out. It's just unreal, the stuff we wrecked this year. That goes to show that this is team. I mean, we got it to stay together enough to get down the track at those two events. We needed to beat Lonnie Saylor to stay ahead, and we were able to pull out two times we beat him. We weren't competing for first. We got into the pull off the first night at BG, and I had no intentions of running again because I was going for a championship. I wasn't going for a BG ring. And then the next night we needed to stay ahead of them, and we beat them with a hurt motor. It was awesome. And our sponsor Bennett, Logistics and Transportation, and Ace Dorn, those guys were a ton of fun. They came to some of our events and they had I want to call it tailgate party essentially for employees, drivers, and customers. And I think we had like 55 people in the stands. They're right up next to the pullers section, which is right at the end. They're right out my window, and explained to them, I'm like, hey guys, we got a hurt motor. We need to pull out a points win here, not necessarily a victory on the track. Mm-hmm. So there's two competitions going on, and we got to the end. I was so proud of my equipment, so proud of my team, and then look out my window, and right outside is a big sea of blue T-shirts, and that was just killer. That was fun, and I'm really looking forward to doing lots with them this year again. They were a lot
cool.
of fun.
You picked them up earlier this year, right, Ryan? Drive by Bennett.
Yeah, we met them at the farm or at the truck show. Bennett is Austin Hill for NASCAR on Saturdays. He's the 21 car sponsor.
Okay.
And when I got to meet David and his wife, Brenda, at the truck show, and they said, man, this is a lot of fun. We love your story. We love that you're talking to people. And my drivers would have a lot of fun with this. And I want to do something fun for the drivers. I want to do something fun with you and something that our drivers and our team can be part of. One cool thing about Bennett and the Bennett, the group of companies that they have, the family of companies is what they call it. They use the word family of companies. And you guys know how the way I was talking at the beginning of the show, that's a big deal to me. And I asked them, I'm like, what's the story with the family of companies? And, they have some companies that they started themselves, and then they have some companies that they bought out, people retired or whatever, they bought a company. And what was really cool about it is like Ace Dorn, when they took over Ace Dorn, there's guys and girls that work there for, that's a 100-year-old company. They had drivers that worked there for 20, 30 years, and Bennett's the owner now, but the whole Ace Dorn team is in place. So if you work for a company for 20, 30 years, you're still working for the same people. Just maybe the address changed. So the way that they wake, well, it says right there, we're strong freight and faith. So they're a great company. They work with the vets, veterans, hiring veterans. It's all big to them. And they joked that they were Bible thumping and gun toting and flag waving kind of company. And that's a pretty accurate group for them, pretty accurate name for them. They got, I think, 12 different companies. Bennett Driveaways based out of Goshen, Indiana, where all the campers are made and all the boats and stuff like that. So we were down there for PPL. We had a tailgate party with them. So they have drivers that are delivering, mobile homes and stuff like that and campers. Got to meet them. I never knew how many miles some of these people could put on a pickup truck. I think the most I heard was 1.6 million miles that they had on a pickup truck. Super, super cool group of people. And then on the big side, like some of these pictures you're showing, they haul the SpaceX shuttles. And Boss Crane Services, that stands for Bennett On-Site Services. They've got a couple 900-ton cranes, and they haul bridges in Texas, and they set bridges up. So when you're a freight company and you work for mobile homes, like that's Bennett Driveaway right there. When you work for Bennett Driveaway to the Boss Crane system and for the specialized stuff and hauling a rocket, that's about as big of a spread as I think you can get in the transportation industry. So super cool people. They're based down out of Georgia and McDonough, Georgia. And they've been a lot of fun to talk to.
That's awesome. I love the like you called them the tailgate parties. I think that's so cool, Ryan. I'd love any sponsor like that. That's so great to do that. Because you're bringing people out to a tractor pull, Ryan. That probably never honestly been to a tractor pull before. So.
Yeah, when they announced what they were going to do, a few of their office people or in the advertising department or at the Ace Dorn shop, she was head over heels when she heard that they sponsored Playin with Fire. She's one of our fans, one of our followers, and she was so excited. And it was just a great group of people. They're a blast. They were a lot of fun.
That's super cool.
I mean, and he's all geared up. Dave, the owner, he's one of the owners. He's all geared up. He's got his little cooler that buzzes around with a electric go-kart engine in it, and he's geared up for pulling. He understands how to have some fun.
Good deal. That makes it a lot more fun. And
now that's one of our sponsors, the Bennett and the Ace Dorn. And then our other sponsor we were able to add this year is Cat Reman. Cat Reman we've been working on for a couple years, and what an awesome way to showcase their products. The Playin with Fire, we use their block. We use a lot of stock parts, but they have to go and get massaged. But the metallurgy, and it's the same technology, the same metal that you can buy and put in your on-road truck. We utilize Cat's block, their head, their crankshaft, the actual piston, and camshaft. Every one of them things have to get a little machine shop massaging. That semis have it. We all run a tie-down system, so we have to massage that block in order to accept the tie-down system. The pistons have to get relieved so that the injectors don't hit them and they can handle RPMs. The crankshaft, we just work on it a little bit to work on our oil or lubrication of it. Camshaft, we just play with that a little bit. But these are all the same parts, and this is 5,000 horsepower and 4,500 RPM. if you don't have a failure, how many runs can you get on the engine before you have to pull it and rebuild it? Well, on your little chart that you made, I saw that I pulled 0.5 miles, and in a half a mile, I think we rebuilt it 8 or 9 times, which was our worst year by far ever. In the past, how much did we get out of it? If we could get 12 to 16 runs, I was happy.
Okay.
What's the cube limit in your class, or is there one?
Has to be a stock block.
that's the rule book, right? As long as the block is stock. Okay. That's awesome.
Basically, they allow the Cummins KTA. That was a 19-liter motor. It was never in a truck, I don't think. I'm not a Cummins guy, but I mean, tons of years ago, they allowed those in competition. So that was the big boy. That was 19-liter. Cat blocks, they can fit a C15, a C16, or a C18 in the same size block. The block doesn't change.
But
just the liners and pistons and sometimes crank changes to make it a 15, 16, or 18-liter motor.
can you bore out the cylinders?
You would just get a different liner. The liners drop into the block.
Okay.
It's a different liner.
Okay.
So everyone runs essentially a C18 piston and a C18. In order to make it a true C18, you have a longer throw crank. And I don't think anyone's really running the longer throw crank. We run a C15 or 16 crank, so that's a shorter stroke, but the wider bore. By math, it works out to be around 11 or 17 liters.
Oh.
How much fuel do we use in a run? Just about 5 gallons. Now, one thing that's different about playing with fire is, like I said before, we're electronic. This is the biggest electronic or most powerful electronic motor in North America. When we started this on the national level 8 years ago, I washed up the truck, loaded it, took my family across the country, and I knew we were getting last place. But we kept working on it. Everyone else is a mechanical fuel injection. You can purchase those pumps from somebody, and they essentially have that world figured out. And we stumbled on every single problem. And sometimes there was answers for it, and sometimes there's no answers for it. And we had to work our way through it. And it was a long, slow, painful deal. There's, lots of guys that run electronic in America. There's tons of them out east in PA and Ohio and stuff like that. And there's lots of electronic engines up in Canada doing the road, the uphill drag racing and stuff like that. We can't do the drag racing stuff because of how we're built. I have the luxury of 3 minutes to get off the line, so I can build boost. And I need that big sled behind me in order to get this motor excited, in order to get it charged up and get it on the track. Whereas those guys can build their boost on the line, and they can take off when the light turns green. And it's just, it's super impressive, but we're just built differently. I can't do what they're doing, and they're not set up to do exactly what we're able to do. So there's some cool stuff all over the place. Why did I choose Cat rather than Detroit or Cummins? I don't own any Cummins motors and big trucks. We have Cat for everything. Brad, my mechanic, he was the Cat guy at Kenworth. He worked there for 19 years. And then the local TC, the technical consultant for Fabic, the local Cat dealer, they by contract with Caterpillar have to have a guy, essentially the help desk, so that anyone at a Peterbilt or a Freightliner or a KW shop can call and get an answer. And so Brad, after 19 years at Kenworth, he was the TC for 5 years at Fabic. And right after that, that's when Cat stopped. That's Brad right there. They stopped their line for the Cat truck, and we were able to hire Brad full-time here at DeBroux Custom. So he's our shop guy here. which makes it a whole lot more convenient because even back then he was fixing our stuff after work, or we would call him all the time on how to fix stuff. He's super annoying to work with, fixing stuff. He's so talented. It's like synchronized swimming. When he has a wrench in his hand, he walks around and he'll loosen up a bolt here and there. He knows the 5 bolts that are all different locations. He puts that wrench down and he doesn't touch it again. I'm a big dummy when I'm working on this stuff. I understand how this all works, but when I want to take something off, I got to grab the wrenches to do that one part. He can take this motor apart and put it back together, blindfolded. So it's awesome to work with someone that's that good in their industry.
So the long story short is you run a cat because when you have to rebuild it 8 or 9 times in a season, you've got a guy who completely knows how to do that. That's his bread and butter.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's perfect.
There's really no Detroits at our level right now. Not that there couldn't be, there isn't. There is some guys that are running like KT motors. I just don't know anything about them. I'm not a Cummins guy.
What about the PPL season? We've talked about your win at Toma. How about your win at is it Osceola? Am I saying that right? Osceola?
Osceola, yeah. That was a new pull for us. Mm-hmm. And that track, like when you're on a basketball court and you can squeak your feet when you're walking across the court. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just about swear that place you could squeak your feet. To say we were locked in. Boy, that really bit. And that was a lot of fun. We went screaming out of the end for that one. That was awesome. I was all geared up and ready to rock and roll the next day. The second day it got rained out. And it was a fun event for us. It was fun. We also got to share it with another one of our it's part of our Playin with Fire family, stainless steel pipes. Jason's on the fire department with me. And we went from Osceola. We left the truck at our promoter's house or a shop. And then we all went out to Colorado jeeping for a week on a family vacation with them. So it was fun to have Jason out on one of the events in his family. So he's part of the Playin with Fire team.
Where was your final hook? So as I was looking through things here, PPL kind of abbreviates on their website where each of your hooks were, and then you can kind of cross-reference it by looking at the schedule and figuring out what's obviously what. The last thing they have written down, and I couldn't pull any specific stats on this other than the fact you got second, it says INDIA. Now, I'm assuming you didn't load up the trailer and go halfway around the world and you were pulling in the country of India, but no. That's somewhere in Indiana, I'm assuming. Is that Lions?
No, it's Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
So for me, that's like, the Washington, PA and the Indiana, PA trips are just killers for us. That's some of our farthest trips. Washington, PA, out of the last 5 years, I think it rained out 4 times, and we were either there or had our signal light on to turn into the place when they called it. And it's a long way to steam for nothing.
Yeah. And then go ahead. My bad, bud.
That worked out okay this year at Washington, PA, because that's one of Ace Dorn's new yards or distribution centers or terminals. So we got to hang out with them out in Washington, PA. Even though the event got rained out, at least I got to go there and meet another group of people on the Ace Dorn side.
What I love about you put this together, Mike. So his average distance for PPL was 330.35. His average finish was 2.2. Just over second place. And then for NTPA it was 334. So the sleds are set tight. You know what I mean, Brian? Because you talk to a sled operator, the semi trucks, because of the weight and the torque, and the unlimiteds. The Wayne Pursers, the David Richardsons, the Billy Beers of the world, the Joe Eaters. That big class like that, Bollingers. They put the most weight in the pan or in the box for the semis and the unlimiteds, and that's why you typically will see those classes towards the end of the night. As the night goes on, they're just adding more and more weight, and that's why Ryan said he gets to normally be last class of the night. So
it also shows how consistent his ability to set that truck up is, the consistent to rebuild it the same every week, and his consistency in driving it. I mean, if you're averaging, because we're not even, the sleds in the two leagues don't really cross at all. So you're dealing with two entirely different sled operators, and yet he's within 4 feet average finish of each other. So great sled operators, but a very, very consistent team, a very consistent operator too.
Last year we had a bouncing issue that kicked our butt all throughout the year, and we busted drive shafts right and left. We carry an extra one in the truck. And I mean, it's a drive shaft made out of well casing, so it's not going to give up easy. Machine Service in Green Bay makes it for us. They make all the drive shafts for the military. When I walk in there, the guys are smiling and rolling their eyes, and they put their very best guy on it because they know it's going to go through hell on purpose, So I appreciate the services I get. And, in business and in pulling, I need help. I always need help. I need my guys at the shop here or at DeBroux Custom getting the stuff done. I need Brad. I need my family. There's any one of them things stop. I need my vendors, and that's also another fun thing about this is you've built enough relationships with people that you're able to work with them, and they're busier than mad, trying to get stuff done, and I'm bringing in another crankshaft. Hey man, I need this thing clearance. Well, when do you need it back? And they're hoping I'm saying in a month, and I'm like, this afternoon would be great.
I'm free between 4 and 7. I can come back anytime then.
It's a broken record all summer long about trying to do that stuff to get these parts back. So I really appreciate, and I hate to acknowledge them because I'm for sure gonna forget. But a couple of the big ones is, Weimer for the air. We use their turbo. We work with S&S Andrew for a fuel system. And my little buddy Jerry for a lot of our parts. Got to meet some fun people that are great to work with. Locally, we utilize Barrel Engine. They do a lot of machining for us, and magnafluxing, checking stuff out. They usually tell me that I wrecked it, so but we still try to check it out. But they do some stuff. We work with. I hate doing this because I'm for sure forgetting people, but we work with a lot of different people in order to get things done. But the question about transmission in semi. So it's an old school, Profab is who we get it from. We use an old Mack twin stick transmission, and I'm not an old Mack guy. I believe they're either 5s or 7 speeds originally, but it's that triple counter shaft transmission. And Profab takes that transmission, they pull everything out of it. They just want the housing. They put hardened shafts back in and big fat gears, straight cut, big fat gears. And we have 4 forward gears. They're all pulling gears. Nothing's low. For you truck drivers, what would be comparison? Probably like on a 18 speed or a 10 speed truck or 13 speed. It would be the splitter flipped up and probably back towards you, or up towards the radio on the high side. That'd be our first gear. We have gears in between gears, so you can't say that it would be all those gears on the high side in a normal truck, but that's where our first gear is. That's why we're not allowed to drive in the pits. We're allowed to take our vehicles off the trailer if we want to turn them around, whatever. But then after that, we're pulled around by a vehicle for multiple reasons. One, first gear is too damn high. We can't travel that fast, and we can't see kids running around or anything like that. We have open pits, which I love, but the tractor guys move us around, slow and pull us onto the scale, pull us off the scale up to the staging area, and then when we come off the track, we shut them down and we get pulled back to our trailer. So what changes would you be available to make appearance at?
She meant to say chances.
Chances.
Just
Yeah.
so
Oh, chances.
That sounds like Rockwell dates. Isn't that pretty close to
no,
Rockwell?
it's
Rockwell.
May.
Oh,
But,
May. Oh, I'm not even in the right month.
This is down by Farley. There's a racetrack right down the road.
Farley got added this year, by the way, for semis.
Did it?
Yep.
Awesome.
So we're gonna get to go down there. So that's awesome. We get all kinds of these questions about going places, and I gotta tell you, with the commitment of keeping up to these two clubs, I almost just don't have any more. I just don't have any more time or anything. We'd love to be part of stuff, but the time commitment is just crazy. And last year, we were able to pull out a win in both. But I think that's going to be it, because now they have overlapping events. So we're going to have to choose which one we're going to run with. And
that's something new. I didn't know that, Ryan.
So that's one thing that I was going to say tonight. We're going to sign up for PPL still, but we won't be able to make all the PPL events. We're going to sign up for NTPA, the Grand National, but we're going to commit to running all the NTPA events. Simon's bought, from what I heard, one of Island's trucks, the old mother trucker truck, passing
cool.
through. That's a 6-time championship truck. Love pulling against the Islands, and when Dean Halicki had it too, they were a lot of fun. So Simons will be in our class, and then there might be another guy. I don't know if he's still committed or not, but hey, John, how you doing?
It's like 5. He just got off work. It's like 5 o'clock out in California, Ryan. So.
Right. The Code 3 boy.
Yeah,
So the Simons are joining the semi-truck class. I have a working theory that the Simons could just develop their own league. You could run a show that was just like, and spot like 4 classes with just, the Simons just rolling out what they've dipped their fingers into over the past 5 years. That's awesome. That's too cool.
And there's talk of another guy from out in New York State that's going to possibly join our NTPA group, and if he does that, that'll be 3 more trucks. So, How big of turbos are the semi running these days? Nobody makes parts for the semi class. The tractors are what? What are they? 620, 680? I don't even know. 640. We're what? Around 1,050 cubic inches. Nobody makes a turbo for us big enough. So we run the biggest pro stock turbos that are made. And we have a 6.2 Weimer. I have an extra one in the trailer. But what's awesome is so far we haven't needed it. But
womp.
And you said most guys are just preferring a single turbo. You said there's one of them out there. I think you said Nikki's Nightmare is running a 2-stage.
Yep, he's got his triples. He's had those for years. With Kent building his engine and taking care of his engine program, they have that all figured out. That's that diesel super stock stuff. Jason's going to have a lot of learning.
A lot.
Two feeding into one. So I'm assuming, are they spinning that 6.2 with 2 smaller ones in front of it?
No, he doesn't have one that big. They're all 3 of them are smaller. So
okay. So it really is going to be comparable to like a diesel super setup then.
Yep. I think it's very similar. And I'm pretty sure he told me that he's had the same ones for quite a few years, same size. And he does great with it. Nikki's Nightmare's truck, that sucker throws down. Consistency helped us with our championship run, but man, it didn't come easy. I got all kinds of parts over there that are garbage. We're going to make wind chimes out of our crankshafts. I think I wiped out 4 crankshafts, and, semi crankshaft, they're almost 5 feet tall. If we hear our wind chimes start moving, it's time to seek shelter. What happened to Dan Prawl? He was out last year with his truck is called Full Tilt. I saw him last year at Rockwell, but he showed up, and I think it ended up getting rained out that night, so we didn't get to see it run. That's a long way to steam there, Mr. John.
The semis all live up north, but north is where the semis are. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. I think of Michigan when I think semis.
Yeah, and there's a pile of them in Ohio and out that way. But I don't know, John, if we get it close to your border, I think they're going to have my name and be standing there waiting for me. I think
Ryan,
if we have you come this way.
Mark, okay. I'm getting excited, Ryan, because, with I spent a lot of summer time with the Outlaws. Their 4-1 semi-class was really popular this year. Really saw them in diesels and dark corners, and that can be a stepping stone because we always want more, and that could be more trucks coming up to your level than Ryan, the highest level of semi-truck pulling. So that gets me excited because before, honestly, I didn't, or maybe I just didn't know that there was a 4-1 class or, like in the tractor classes, we got, limited pro, then pro stock, and I just always felt like it was just the big semis or nothing, Ryan, or some brush pole stuff. So it's nice to see some sanctioning bodies have some 4-1, trucks or limited, not as quite as hot as yours, but they still put on a good show. So,
and those are fun classes to be in. They're very competitive. The trucks will live. J.R. Collins, Buckeye Bulldog. That is, Jason, help me out. Miles Fain?
Fain out of Minnesota has it. Yep.
Miles is the right one. What's his cousin's name? That guy's got a tractor.
Mitch
has got the tractor. Miles has got the semi. So Miles is up there. He's got a heck of a family. I don't know how many kids he's up to. I think he's got like 5 boys now. Hopefully we get to see him out sometime soon. And that he would come out and play. We see him at the events throughout the year. He always comes and say hi, and then I see his cousin. So those are great guys too. Hibbett's trucks, they're multiple times throughout the year. That's the one that people talk about the most. His trucks are in a shed somewhere. I don't know where they're hiding, but they're sitting in the shed. Since when we won in 18 to now, I know what we did differently, and my God, the changes and power that we make differently. It's just, some of those legacy trucks are awesome to see, but boy, our class has pushed forward in the last few years. It's just crazy. So
this one was kind of the grandfather, the granddaddy of this class of pulling right here. This guy kind of developed it single-handedly.
Yep. And JR just a few years ago, he went into the NTPA Hall of Fame. And one of the pulls that I was at this year for PPL out in Ohio, there was 4 of them in 1 week. So we started in Goshen, and then it was at Jefferson, Ohio, and I forgot the other one. One of them was, a memorial pull for JR. So we saw his other truck that was there, not that one, the one that's a step down. The one that you just showed a picture, that's got the fiberglass body and everything else. That was his big pulling truck. But there was, I think the generation before that truck was at that show. And they had a great turnout.
Do you guys remember in the early days of semi-truck pulling when for whatever reason that they thought the chain that they put on them had to be like 8 feet long or something crazy like that? Have you been pulling long enough that you ever hooked with the great big long chain? Or Jason, do you know the background on the logic behind that, or how and when they changed it? But you've seen it. If you look back in the day, the chains were, there was 10 feet between the sled and the truck.
They did that, but they still hooked high. They still hooked like above the frame rails. It was a real high hook. Mm-hmm. And the 4-1 hitches that those guys are on, it's almost essentially the same angle, but sled technology is what's changed that. Sled technology is done so much better to handle the bigger horsepower, and they're always going to stop you. It's just how smooth it's going to be, or how great you can get going on the line. It's not fun to kill anybody and bust their stuff, or sled operators, they know how to how to put on a good show, but they always are going to win. They're
you know we're gonna get you. Used to be a medal on some of the old sleds. That's also too why we're seeing distances where they are now at the 330s, 350s, 370s. Drivers don't want to be brought to a dead halt stop at 298. It's too hard on equipment. They like to be brought to a stop, kind of in a descending way. I think that's a big reason why we see the distances and the floating finishes that we see now too.
Yeah, and you got to remember that track is maintained to 330, maybe 350, but usually 330. And when you go tearing out the end, you get past 330, you're on virgin, unprepared dirt. You don't have crap for traction, but the sled, he's still sitting in where all the machines have ended. So he's on nice, grippy, tilled dirt, and you're out in no man's land, except for the Enderley. The Enderley, I swear they maintain that sucker 390.
I think, and that's where they usually end up too. So
yeah, that place is different. That place is fun. If you ever have a chance to go there, that's a show that moves right along. 5 in each class. They know what they're going to expect. It's the best 5 of every class. They know what they're doing for sled settings, and it's just bang, 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 and it's a lot of fun out there.
And they let them get out and run this year.
Yeah, they truly treat that as a show, I feel. It's very, very entertaining. Yeah. The points races are done. Everybody's got 1 or 2 last hooks in them, and it's go for broke type of a thing. So.
Yeah, why get out of the throttle when you've already know where you're finishing? Why get out of the throttle? And they know that. So here's your sandbox, boys. Go play.
Yep. And then it's a nice redemption. If you had stress during your year, it's like the Pro Bowl that matters. Maybe you didn't get a chance to get to the Super Bowl. You didn't get yourself a ring or a trophy, but the Enderley is that one last time where you get to fix everything up, bring it there, and say, you know what? I'm going to find out if I'm going to have a smile on my face for all winter.
Like Billy Beers. I feel like Billy Beers always he's the biggest badass in the world to play bridesmaid. I feel like he's always right there behind Joe Ader or Bauer. But he said, you know what? This son of a buck can win, and I'm going to show you right now.
Yep. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Doug's asking about the Dodge Fever. If you guys have ever had an opportunity to meet Larry Carey, that should be everyone's goal. Larry Carey is one cool old dude. His grandson Brian's a friend of mine. When we go up to Morley, Michigan, that's their hometown. That's the trucking capital of Michigan. And you talk to Brian throughout the year. This was a couple of years ago, and I'm like, "Hey, what's your grandpa up to?" And he's like, this week he's out riding snowmobile in Yellowstone. And he's how old and out kicking ass. He puts like 4,000 or 5,000 miles on a snowmobile every year. I can't even do that. I'm too busy. I mean, he's everyone's goal for being an old guy. We'd be all lucky if we could be like him.
Here's some video I have from 2016 I took of the Dodge Fever. So I'm going to turn the sound on for this. So give me a second. Has Bowling Green been good? You've done decent at Bowling Green over the years, Ryan?
No, I get my ass kicked there too. No, it never. Toma and Bowling Green just, ugh.
Oh man!
No, we were able to win at Toma, and the couple that helps up in the booth that hands out the trophies is a local couple. I think they're 4 miles north of me, and they've helped out Dave Senior forever, and that's good friends of theirs. I think they stayed at Dave Senior's house, and every year they're like, "Come on, Ryan, try and get your stuff together so you can, get up there, and we'd love to present you with a trophy." And this year, we were able to get a trophy for them. That was pretty sweet. But yeah, Toma, we've had the motor run away. guy asked me after, he's like, how'd you finally shut it off? And I said, friction. He's like, friction? Well, that's not good. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. It's one piece. The whole thing's junk.
It's
And
solid, yeah.
it's we've wrecked drive shafts there and just had bouncing problems last year. But this year, we got everything together. And one of the big aha moments this year was at the Pullers Championship. Last year it didn't pay for us to try to put down more power. It didn't pay for us to do anything until we got rid of that bounce. Because all we're going to do is wreck it harder and bigger. And currently we were only busting the drive shaft, and knock on wood, that's not the worst thing to change. It's an external part and it's not an oil. Once we got that bounce to stop and we were able to pour it on, that Pullers Championship video, that I think it's on our Facebook page. We're right there. Go smoking by. We were sharing it today, Jason.
Yeah.
That truck was screaming, but inside that cab, that driver was screaming.
Yeah.
I
know how happy you were.
I was happy
Yeah,
as hell.
I know how happy you were. I want to throw these up. I got the Pullers Championship video right here, but this is from 2014 from the NTPA Facebook page. Let's see if some of these guys. So Dean Hollicky, mother trucker. That's Simon's truck now, right? So basically 10 years later, he won. Jeremy Walker, 2 of a kind. Where's that? I don't remember that truck, Ryan.
Oh, I'm going to have to lie to you because one of the Walker trucks, I don't know if it was 2 of a kind or double down. That is Pat and Tom Islands just passing through in class.
Okay.
That's where that truck resides now. Dan Prowl, full tilt. We haven't seen that one out in a little bit. That one's out of Minnesota. Larry Carey, Dodge Fever. We just talked about that. That is in the shed in Morley, Michigan. I don't know if they're going to bring it out. I know some of their parts have gone out to their friend and neighbor, Ben Gordon, with the Let Her Rip Tater Chip. Ben hauls potatoes all over. So his truck is Let Her Rip Potato Chip. And I know that they have some of those parts that are off of that, the old Dodge Fever. Chris Schroeder, well, that's Chris and Chris Mills. So Chris and Chris, the Crazy KW. Those guys have started doing the NTPA circuit. They did the Toma, but they made it to Rockwell, and they made it to Morley, made it to BG this year. That was their first time.
Yep.
Those guys are friends of mine. Those guys are a blast.
Yeah, they are. I think they said they planned on being out more this year when I talked to them. Where did I see them last? I know they're going to be out more, Ryan.
Yep, and they came down to the Enderley too.
That's right. I talked to him. Yep.
Holy smokes, that's Lonnie Saylor. That's out of Minnesota. He's there every week. He did a couple PPL pulls also. He's a tough competitor. You can't hardly beat that guy in Morley, Michigan. That's his hometown track, and normally hometown tracks don't go worth a darn, but he's got that one figured out. And then the old Jacked Up, that now is Executioner. Hamilton, that's Craig Braun out of is that Hampton, Minnesota?
Yep.
He runs the NTPA circuit with us, so we see him all the time.
I would be willing to bet that the old Jacked Up truck has the most views of any single pulling semi on YouTube or any social media platform from 2016, 17, whenever it was that he.
It was 16
when he puked up everything there was to be puked up right on the track.
Yeah, big Jack Kilmeyer, he's a cool dude. Little story, the first year or second year did the Enderley. We had Jack up because you get introduced to 5 of you and you have to pick your position. Well, Jack was up there, Dean was up there, myself, Pat Island. Well, we're all big guys. And the announcer is like, well, these guys aren't mini rod pullers.
Oh, I love it.
Jack, I think he's still got the most Enderley appearances ever across multiple pulling circuits or pulling vehicles or different classes. But Jack is Yeah, this run was awesome.
Just what you see him go chugging by. You were just cruising. I know you were so happy because it didn't bounce, so didn't chatter. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yep. So that once we knew it settled down, then it was time to grab another gear and give it something more to do.
Yeah. I want to watch that with the sound on. Give me a second here to cue that back up because it's a good one. It's a good one. You were saying you're kind of happy inside the helmet there, Ryan?
Was that? Oh, I was very happy. I was ecstatic. Yep.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, when like what I explain to people in the pits or whatever, you just don't drive these things off the line. You have to get them excited. You have to light the charger, as they say. You put it in the gear that you want. There's no shifting on the track. You wind that motor wide open. So for me, that's 4,500 RPM, and you let that clutch out just an inch or two, and you let those plates start to grab. And you guys have all driven something like a 2-stroke snowmobile or jet ski or something like that, where when you shut that choke off and it's kind of dying on you and you're working on it, trying to keep it alive. That's what this motor does. This motor will drop 800, 1,000 RPM because it's drowning in fuel. And you still got to hold it there at that exact spot. And you wind that motor up. The clutch is coming down. At wide open, you'll have 4,500 RPMs and 4,000 RPMs on the turbo and 0 boost. You're burning it as fast as you're getting it. You let that motor bog down like that, and it starts making that crappy white smoke or gray smoke, and you're going to get 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 RPM. Maybe that's 10 pounds of boost, 12 pounds. Well, that 12 pounds of air is going to burn more of that fuel that you're drowning in it, and it's going to build you some more smoke. And you're going to get 15 pounds, 20 pounds of boost is when you first get the first little ounce of a whistle of that charger. 20 pounds of boost, you're going to start burning more of that fuel, and it gains up to 30, 40, 60. When I get 60 pounds of boost and 60,000 RPM, my computer dash goes blue. That's where I know I can finally roll the tires. How long does it take me from the beginning to that? Sometimes 8 seconds. So you're lighting that charger for 8 seconds, drowning that motor in fuel for 8 seconds. But once I have 60 pounds of boost, 60,000 RPM, I see that blue dash. Now I first roll the first bit of the tires. And then that charger just winds right up, builds boost excess of 100, well over 100, and we're out of here. And when you launch and you get a launch off the track and you finally let the clutch all the way out and it knocks your head back and twists up that big truck, and that's the best feeling. That's what it's all about. Nothing beats when you see that flag man just start taking a couple steps backwards. That's just great. And like that run you just showed at Pullers Championship, when we were hooked in, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know how far the other guy went, but I know I'm going farther. We're out of here. And for it to be a nice smooth ride at the end, it's not a smooth ride in the truck. It's a violent ride. But when the truck's not bouncing and you can maintain that front end lift and just get it to sit the ass of that truck right in the ground, that's awesome.
I'm going to snip that part of the interview out, Ryan. That's going to be a YouTube. I love that.
Yeah.
That 2 minutes there. That was awesome. No, because people ask all the time. Why? Why do you love pulling? And it's that you've explained it perfectly. It's the best 13, 20 seconds of your life every single time. Every
Yep.
single time. So
Yeah, when you feel that big frame all twisted up, you see your hood jacked up in your windshield because the cab's twisted more than the hood. And when you let off the throttle and all that sets back down, you're just that's awesome. My buddy Clint Medding.
yep.
Clint, I bought a toter from, and we got to go down to Texas. Clint's awesome.
Yes, he
His
is.
family's great. Got to bring him make some old fashions down there. We had a great time. Clint's a lot of fun.
I thought you only drank Crown Royal. I'm proud of you for drinking some old fashioned. You are a Wisconsin guy though, Ryan. So it's all good.
Crown Royal old fashions, Jason, of course.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had those before too. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I thought you Wisconsin guys made them with brandy.
There's a lot of that, but
You can have whiskey old fashions.
you got to watch out for Jason, though. Jason will come by your trailer at the end of the night and he'd be like, "Hey, you make me up a drink? No problem, Jason. Tomorrow night we'll drink by me." You can't find the man that next night. He's not
Weird. I forgot all about it.
Which pits or which pull? And I'm seeing a theme down here. A lot of your buddies say that you're awful good at staying up late and hanging out. Which pull is the most fun? And I don't mean your wonderful explanation. I'm not saying which track gives you the best pulling experience. Which pits, after it's all said and done, is going to be the Bluetooth speakers and barbecues and cold beverages? Where do you have just the most cut loose fun at?
Well, that's almost impossible to answer. We have lots of friends that are on an NTPA circuit with us. Almost all of our events are 2-day events. 2-day events are great. You get there, you set up and unload, and you're not reloading again until Saturday night or Sunday morning. Depends on how big your headache is. But you have time to unwind. And I like the big pulls because, on a 3-day event, you're only going to pull 2 of those days. So you essentially have a free night to unwind. The Tomas, the Rockwells, the BGs of the circuit. We have a blast with everybody. We have friends. We have a lot of friends in the diesel 4x4 class. My kids are friends with all different people. You talked earlier about
Johnny Payne.
Johnny Payne and his Johnny and was it Jack and
Johnny and Jack. Yep.
My boys are friends with those guys. Chase, my youngest son, one of his best friends is Jackson Lustig. Those boys are on the phone every day, probably twice a day, once right after school and once before bed. They're playing on the phone together. Those are, we were at an event this year and who told me this? Was it Miles or, he sees them together all the time. Big Ryan Rusnak, we see him all the time. And I can't remember who told to me. It bums me out, I don't remember, but he said something that just hit me. He saw them. They're always friends. They're always together. And he said, "Hey," says, "you already met one of the guys that's going to stand up in Chase's wedding." Chase is 11, and it's like, that hit me like a ton of bricks, and he's 100% right. The friendships that they made is just awesome. These are all good people, right? And,
Yep.
Your story, Jason, about in that interview about the golf cart, at BG a couple years ago, the kids are riding around. We have a lime green golf cart with big tires on it. It's always got my boys on it. It's always got other teams' kids on there.
Multiple young men.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're in these pits, these kids are labeled. They're wearing your team jerseys. They're not getting into trouble because, it's like herd mentality, right? Everyone's watching them at all times, but everyone gets to see them, and they're everywhere. Well, they broke the axle on my golf cart, and it was so traumatic. Some pullers saw it happen. Some helped them move it off to the side. The Sheltons, we pit next to them at BG. The Sheltons, when they brought it up on their toolcat. Big wounded duck. They brought it back to my pits, and I called 12 places for parts for it. And finally I asked the 12th guy, I'm like, "Hey, is it that you can't get this stuff or you don't have it in stock? He's like, no, we don't stock it. I'm like, well, does your vendor have it? And they're like, yeah, I'm sure they do. It's like, well, does your vendor next day air? And he's like, you're going to next day air golf cart parts? I said, buddy, with everything I got going on, if I only have to next day air golf cart parts, it's a victory. And it was a $300, cost me $300 for parts and overnight shipping. Got it in the next day, and Johnny's little brother Jack, it was just hot as blazes out in BG, and he stayed and helped me switch out the rear axle, and we were just about putting the tires back on. Crystal has a picture somewhere, and all these kids are lined up. You know, they knew it was about fixed, and they're all ready to rock. So they all jumped on. Crystal got a picture of them all, and I got more comments about that than anything I did with this stupid truck. Because it involved all these other families, and they're like, hey, it was great to see everybody back out again. We bought a UTV. They don't even want that on the trailer anymore because they can only put 2 people in the front and a couple people in the back. That sucks. You know, they can get 8, 9 kids on that golf cart. So
really what you're doing is golf cart riding. You go to all these places so your kids can go golf cart riding. And you said, well, since we're here, we might as well build a 20,000 pound semi truck and pull, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, those memories though are forever. They will. I mean, they're the next generation of pullers, and their kids are gonna do the same thing. It's so fun. And
But
I mean,
this
we
is
joked
full
about it.
circle. You know,
Yeah, we
this is,
joked about it. We joked about it at PRI this weekend because Brent was we shared a booth together at PRI, and Johnny was there, and we were joking about it, and it was just so much fun, just laughing. I just love seeing all those boys cruising around. Because as soon as I see the golf cart, I'm like, yep, there's the DeBroux clan, the golf cart mafia, I call them. It's so fun. So.
this is why pulling is not a bad place for your kids. And I mean, it's like what we started the whole show with. It's just, well, pulling is good. Pulling is good. Pulling is fun.
So at the beginning of the show, I had some pictures uploaded. I talked about Ryan does an amazing job of talking to the fans after pull. I think I took these pictures in Hutchinson, Ryan. This looks like Hutch. I think it's Hutch. It doesn't matter, but this amount of people around there you are, kind of right there in the middle, talking to everybody. It's really neat to see that. Here's another picture here. You guys see it, and just the questions. Yeah, that's Hutch. I can tell by the trees in the background. So it's just neat. Just neat.
You know, I enjoy doing that. You know, getting people involved with those kind of details. I knew how big a deal it was to me before I started doing this. This is at Ace Dorn's place in Washington, PA.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And here's from the PPL banquet. That's pretty cool. Yep. I like that. I like that a lot.
You know, we're getting to a different time in our lives. You know, Johnny Payne's got his tractor that I don't know if it's ready to come out this year or not. I've seen some pictures of him on it. Yep. You know, some of these kids are starting to get some itches to do something on their own, and you know, my boys are interested in a diesel super stock truck. We were talking with Benedict's at the NTPA awards. You know, they're going to build another mod. This is getting to be some, you know, where the next wave was going to come out and hit the track, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see that next generation. You know, for all these years, they've helped everyone, you know, their teams respectively, and it's pretty cool to have some other, you know, get some new blood, young blood into this. We can't get a 6-seater golf cart because there's no room in the trailer. This truck goes on a Conestoga trailer. It's the definition of the word just. It just fits. It just fits side to side. It just fits top and bottom, and it just fits lengthwise in there.
Yeah, it's always fun when you're rolling, and I always try to get video of you guys unloading it. It's pretty fun to do all that. So
we're our trailer is down by Brad. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The guy that built the sleds. Cruckton. Our trailer's down by Brad. Brad's building a ramp for us in the back. So hopefully I don't have to drag around them stupid ramps anymore. So
I love it.
it'll be a few more weeks before that's done, but we're getting that's getting worked on right now.
What are some memories from the banquets this year, from the NTPA banquet and their PPL banquet? I mean, winning to the highest level of polling. I mean, only you and Jeff Hurt did it in my most recent memory in multiple classes like that. Jeff did it with the minis, and then in the same association, you won 2 associations. Like you said, it's going to be impossible now because the schedules are going to fall on top of each other. But what are takeaways from that, Ryan?
That was a big deal. I wanted to try and do that, by committing to both of them. I wanted to try to win them both one year, to win them with the same vehicle, a single vehicle team. That was a big deal to us. We had so much work, like I said. The most special thing about the awards, the PPL awards was first. That's fun. We're in this as redneck of a sport as there is, but the PPL awards, that is tuxedos and ball gowns. I mean, you get to see some of the greasiest people in summer dressed up in a tuxedo, and it's fun. I'd love it if I could wear my cowboy boots instead of them stupid dress shoes, but it was a lot of fun doing that. We were, it's down in Louisville, was that 4th Street or whatever? That's a blast. There's all kinds of fun stuff going on there.
4th Street Live.
And I was also pretty cool PPL wise for John and Christy. Last year I didn't go to the awards because it's opening day of deer hunting for us. And in my stand, and the next morning I'm looking at my phone again, and PPL announced that Lucas Oil's out. Holy cow, what is this going to do? Where is this going to be next year? And their meeting rooms, just standing room only, filled them up. They had an awesome turnout. They had an awesome year. How great for them, to soldier on and do what they did. So congratulations to them and their whole team. That was awesome.
John came to the Badger State Banquet a couple weeks ago, Ryan, and he basically said a year ago at this time, I was having one of the worst weekends of my life.
Right.
From a polling point of view. And this year they got through it, and they're charging on to 24, so that's good for them.
So that was fun. The PPL event was great. And then at the NTPA award, without a doubt, the most special part for me was I was able to nominate Brad for Mechanic of the Year. He didn't know it. He didn't know it throughout the year. It was before. I think it was before BG even when I did it, and I got to write up a page or 2 pages about it, and turn that in. They accepted my nomination. Brad was one of the 4. Definitely deserving, in my opinion. The one thing though that he had working against him is I didn't do a real good job in the past explaining, who was my mechanic, who was the guy behind the scenes. Everyone knew I had one, but no one knew what name to tie to it. And I want to do a better job acknowledging them. We're a great team. We each have our own little part of the world. He's the nuts and bolts, the wrenches of the motor. He's the one that keeps this engine compartment looking pretty. I mean, I blew this sucker up every week, and some of those weeks we knew we were going to do it again, and we're working on trying to get things fixed or figured out. And it took a little while to get it totally, my hands around it. And did he put together a motor that was going to, just for the weekend? No, it was still painted. It was still shiny. It was still pretty. It was still clean. The pride that he's got is awesome. And Brad's my best friend. For 2 friends to work together at work, and then for me to wreck it every week, and for him still to have a smile on his face. I'm not saying it didn't get old, but we soldiered through, and that is a team. So
does he sit at home? Ryan, watch a live stream and throw things at his TV?
He's got 2 boys, Gage and Gavin. He's busy with them doing stuff, and he just knew about 11 o'clock at night he was going to get a phone call. And it was, how'd you do? How'd the motor do? What's it like? What do I got Monday? And
So, Brad, I got good news and bad news. We won, and we're still for some points. The bad news is, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
I melted some bearings.
Yep. So this year he was able to he came to Toma. He came to, I'm going to forget him, but he came to a few events more than he's ever before. And, I would come back and I'm like, I need this done. I want this weight moved, and it's like, it doesn't even matter. I'm like, yes, I want this done. I want my clutch like this. We need to change something. And he's, it's like, well, does it really matter? I'm like, man, you got 50 things going on in your head, and this is how I want it. And he gets it done always for me. And the NTPA awards, it was great to see our old friends, our pulling family from the summer, and get to hang out and have a bunch of refreshments with them. But by far, the highlight for me was the fact of getting him nominated for that. He didn't win. Simon Says mechanic, Nelson, Jeremy Jared or whatever it.
Jared, it's
he
Jared.
won it. And, and he's very deserving of it. He's got a lot of vehicles to work on. He does a great job. But Brad was sitting next to me at the things, and you're reading all those prior winners from every award, every class, since when the late 70s, 80s, whatever it is. 52 years or 53 years of it. And I knew they were only announcing the winner. I knew they weren't talking about who was nominated. And he's reading through those things, and I pointed over to that, and I said, there's 4 people running for this tonight. And I said, I'm proud to tell you that you're one of them. And, for him to be recognized, to that level, that was pretty cool for him. So I'm super proud of it. And that was by far one of the highlights for me.
No, it's awesome. It is. I mean, you talk about him all the time at the polls and stuff, and it's fun. I met him at Toma, and it was good to see that. And just neat. Really, really neat. I'm showing your video here that they played at the NTPA banquet of your season there. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, well, Ryan, I think we should wrap it up. Are the Packers winning?
I was just going to ask you, what are those Packers doing?
Sarah, what's the score? Who's ahead? New York's ahead 21-13.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
I wonder if one of your guys is going to line up off sides with the most important play of the game on the line.
Hey, we already beat the Chiefs. We don't care about the Chiefs.
Boy.
We already beat the Chiefs.
We're season ticket holders. My grandpa had season tickets before Lambeau was built. So at the old city stadium, where East High School is now, he had tickets to that, and we sit in one of the end zones, row 21. That was the back row back then when you see the original pictures of Lambeau, and now there's got to be 100 rows behind us and 4 more levels. So
for all of you coming to a pool next year, bring Ryan DeBroux some Crown Royal so I can help him finish at the end of the night. Tonight.
But before we let Ryan go, I've got a bone to pick with him. He has made so there's a story I want to tell. Ryan, you're an awesome family guy, and that resonates with me so much. You've got 3 sons. I've got 2 sons of my own, and our standing tradition is, even though we're from Northeast Missouri, when my sons go to their first tractor pull, we go to Toma. Toma is where we take them. So when my oldest boy, he's 5 now, in 2021, we took him up to Toma. And this past summer, we took my younger boy, he's 2, we took him up to Toma. My older boy, he's 5 years old, and the only thing he talked about for 7 hours the whole way up there was, I want to see the semi trucks pull. I'm old enough now, I can stay up late. So Friday night, we're doing our thing. We're letting him. We got the earphones on him. He's toughing it out through the modifieds and everything. He watched Chuck Knapp, blow it heck and back, which horrified him. But he wasn't going to go anywhere because he came to Wisconsin and he was going to watch semis. And he watched you guys pull, watched you win. And now the only thing he's still asking for, he wants a pulling semi for Christmas. So thanks a lot, buddy. I'm not fighting. I'm not just the the time you spend with fans and the impact you make on kids, I mean, or all fans, it doesn't matter. They love it. They love it. It's too cool for school, bud.
Well, we about wore the door out of this truck because we put kids, put little kids up in the driver's seat. We put them up there, we carry them down so they don't scratch up the paint. But to see their faces, and some kids are too bashful to climb up there, but their dads are like, hell, I'll go up.
Yeah, I want to sit in the seat.
So
yeah, that's awesome. That's been a lot of fun tonight.
Colin, we got to meet years ago. We were pitted not far from him at Toma. Those guys are always fun. Colin's got a horseshoe up his tail for Toma. He always does well there.
Their tractor likes Toma a lot. You need to go touch it so you have a little bit of that luck, Ryan. So
is Tomater coming back out? I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't talked to Kurt in a while. I know Kurt really enjoyed building that truck. He built that with his dad, and I think that was a huge part of it, is being able to spend time with his dad and build that project together. There's a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of travel, and I don't know. I mean, I'm lucky enough that we have enough guys here to keep things running. The crew I run at DeBroux Custom is the hose direct crew. So we pump straight out of the lagoon. So summer I can't really work because there's always something in the way. If we're trying to get to a hayfield, there's always cornfields in the way. And we're busy in spring. And then there's nothing going on in the summer. And then we're busy in fall. And that's my crew. My other crews are more portable. They can just work on those hayfields during the hay crops. So they're able to keep working and keep servicing our customers. And, Kurt runs a shop, and it's such a commitment to essentially shut down your living and make your customers wait while you go and do something. It's so much more consuming and difficult than what it is at face value. So
thank you for being a great fan of the sport, Ryan, and then sharing that love with your family and the fellow fans. It's just a blast. You're the PR that truck and tractor pulling needs, and well deserved on the championship, because I know how hard you've worked for that. And it'll be hard to ever have a season like this ever again. You're going to want to write down 2023. Yeah. It's a pretty special season, Ryan. So
yeah, this was an enormous year, highs and lows. I mean, my grandpa passed away, one of the most influential people in my life, my whole life, just a hell of a guy. And to be able to pull out the PPL season and the NTPA season, cap it off with an Enderley, and then being appointed fire chief, personally and professionally, that's a hell of a year for us. But we're going to keep giving her. We're going to keep doing our thing. And if I can get this stupid lubrication issue figured out, we can go have some fun. I want to also do a quick shout out, Mac Trailers. They've been a class sponsor of us for on both sides, PPL and NTPA, forever. Recently, Dr. Preload is the class sponsor on the NTPA side. Sempico Oil, the Dave and was it Dave and who's the other owner? John?
I think so. I just know a Dave.
With them. Phil is my rep. Those guys have been great to us. We got our little, whatever you want to call it, contingency check. We got for all the first and second places. And then for winning the 2 championships, we got a bonus with that. But almost what was more important was I got a personal letter from them guys. Congratulations. It wasn't a boilerplate letter. It was congratulations on what you're able to do. 2 championships 1 year. We love what you do for our product and for pulling fans. That was great. Really appreciate those guys. Our sponsors, Bennett Transportation and Logistics, Ace Dorn, Cat Reman. We got lots of fun stuff coming with those guys. So really look forward to next year. And if we could maybe keep the nuts and bolts in the truck a little bit longer. That would just be great. That would be awesome.
Yeah, Brad would appreciate that as well. So,
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
awesome. Well, Ryan, we're going to let you go. Thank you for all that you do, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah. See you, Ryan.
Thanks, man. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Dude, what a season. What a season he had.
Yeah,
That's incredible. Incredible season he had. So great guy. I've known him forever, Richland Center. We started those pulls in Richland Center in 2008, and he was coming down and supporting us. And then when we got the Pullers Championship going, Mike, we called Ryan. He always helps us with the semi trucks. He can't help the other guys get parts, obviously, but he's worked hard to do it. His wife Crystal's awesome. The kids and that golf cart mafia, that they have a blast with that. I'm glad he told the Bowling Green story with the with that stuff, so it made me laugh. So
we got to dig into the record book. So the last person to win a championship in the same season for multiple organizations. That's something we're going to have to look and find.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that, or how to do that.
I would
dig into it.
I would say, I mean, what comes to mind, you've almost got to imagine it'd be back in the days of like when they were running the TNT Redman circuit or the USHRA side by side. And then you have to start wondering, if it's going to be like Engler, Banners, I mean, who just won everything. But we'll have to do some digging. And maybe, this might be the first one in 30 years. So
it was awesome. He had a heck of a season. But I know I saw the smile on his face, and he was so excited at the Pullers Championship when it didn't bounce on him, because he said, what good dudes have all this power? We're just going to keep breaking stuff. So it's good to see that. But guys like that always pushing, and then his kids seeing the hard work ethic that they do. And it was good to, the fact that he really got to thank Brad, that was cool.
Yeah.
And the Banquet recognized him and stuff like that. So we're excited to get him on the podcast. I know he's been super busy and been trying to get him on Monday nights, and it was awesome. But they're great people, and we'll run up there. They're only about 3 hours away at most from us, so we're gonna go up and do a little bit of a shop tour with him and get a video of that, show behind the scenes a little bit here after the holidays.
The semi truck class is such a neat class because I feel like every casual to above casual to pretty well invested pulling fan, everybody's seen in person a pro stock. Everybody's seen a 4-1 100 times. Maybe the mini rods I used to think of the mini rods and the semis as the real offshoots. The mini rods are pretty widespread anymore, but the semis, because of what they need huge tracks. They need Tomas, they need Rockwells. They're still, you don't just go, unless you live, in Northern Ohio or Minnesota or somewhere. You just don't go to the local pull and always see the semis. So if you are a diehard pulling fan, or if you're someone who's getting into pulling, seek the semi trucks out. You cannot believe the thunder that these guys put to the ground and just the mammoth scale of what they're moving going down the track. It's neat to talk about.
But that's also what I like about him too. I love pro stock tractors, but I think you should only see them at big pulls. Semis, you should only see them at big pulls. That's what makes those events great. And I know that somebody's always going, well, I don't want to run a national circuit or whatever, but I want a pro stock. I get it. But that's what makes Chapel Hill, Bowling Green, Hillsboro, Wisconsin, the events in my neck of the woods, these big ones, Toma. You only get to see the unlimiteds and semis in Wisconsin at Toma. You know what I mean? And that's what makes Toma special. And I appreciate that. So, but Ryan has not had good luck at Toma. It has a couple years ago, I feel like he had first hook, and then nobody told him to reset the sled, and that was just a crappy night for him.
I thought that was at Bowling Green. Was that at Toma? I knew there was a story.
I think it was Toma.
Something about that how the rules and the things.
He's still in the green room watching. He's shaking his head. So yeah, I remember that. So I wasn't going to ask him that on there, but he wanted to kill some people that night. I don't blame him.
I knew there was a major controversy involving that truck, but they came back the following night on Saturday night and had a good performance, I want to say, because I remember reading their Facebook posts, and they were really professional with, hey, we don't like what happened Friday night, but here's how we did Saturday night or something like that.
Yeah. So, well, we put 2 hours in the night. I just want to touch on PRI. It was freaking awesome. to see everybody. There was a lot more pullers, a lot more pulling fans there, Michael, than I've ever seen before. Like you literally walking down the hallway and at our booth. Thank you to Gene's Machine, Coltrane Energy, and the Outlaws. They helped. We all split the booth together, and having Gene, Brent Payne's brand new light super there on display was stupid cool. And having free energy drinks also made us very, very popular, Mike.
So I told you at the Outlaw Banquet, one of the things I said to you was I feel like as a fan and as someone invested in this, pulling is bigger and more relevant than it's ever been. And you kind of looked at me and you were like, well, I like the enthusiasm, but why do you think that is? And then you said, do you feel that you're just saying that because you're seeing more in social media and more what you were doing? But now it feels like based on what you saw at PRI, is it looking like globally, well, that might be too big of a word, nationally, pulling is not just lightly tapping on the door, but knocking pretty hard on the door, and it's becoming a bigger presence.
Yeah, I mean, until we get bigger pay, I'm not going to be happy with what we're doing until we get bigger payouts. Just flat ass. That's been my goal with all this the whole time. Like somebody said to me the other day, "What is Let's Grow Pulling?" And I started this podcast back when Pulling Radio Network is around, so like 2013, 2014, and all I've ever wanted to do is get more eyeballs on the sport, more fans in the stands, and that. Now I see the importance of the live stream and the video, and it's not YouTube channels and Facebook, and I'm guilty of that. I'm talking about people paying to watch the show,
yes.
Either in person or on a live stream, because that money's going back to these promoters and getting to these sponsors, which ultimately can trickle down. Now, granted, nobody ever expects to pay for these things, but we deserve more money for the show that we're putting on, and that's going to be my mantra until I'm done with this, or till God takes me home or whatever. So that's what it's all about for me. I want more fans in the stands. It's an awesome sport. You heard Ryan's story tonight talking about his kids and his family and his team, and that whole DeBroux custom work thing. They're cheering for him, but they're also back home running the business. Because Ryan's a good dude. He's not a douche, right? So they're busting their ass for him, and they're like, and I guarantee he feels guilty as hell leaving. I know he does. That's just the kind of guy he is. But he knows the guy's got him back home, and those people are so appreciative to work for him, to have an employer like that cares about them and has their back. They want to go out there and see, be successful. And then, the sponsorship stuff that he talked about with Drive for Bennett, that's awesome. I mean, that they're bringing these people to the polls and they're showing them off, like that. That's neat. That's neat. Like, hey, we're not just going to give you a gift card because we had, a safety bonus. We're going to take you to a tractor pull and you're going to meet one of our trucks. It's just so cool. Love it, love it, love it. So love it, love it, love it. Yeah. So I have a lot more ideas for PRI next year from a pulling perspective. We're going to start working on those. We already have. I talked to my friends at Full Pull about how to take a bigger stage, if you will, to have some more fun with that. This was our first year with an actual booth. Mike, last year, my tractor was just a display down the hall. Like they just have like a bunch of stuff just down the hall, but we had a booth space this year and our own vendor area, and it was great to see all of that. Dave Schultz is the big blue shirt, the president of the Northwest Ohio.
Yeah, I saw they had one.
They were there. They announced their new title sponsor, Maxima Tire, I want to say. They're like the big tire for like the cat loaders and the Case IH, and I think he said like that. So Bowling Green has a title sponsor. That's a big deal. He came down and he sat on my new tractor, and we did a live with him. Antoine Brown, top fuel dragster, one of the best drag in the world, sat on the tractor. Megan Meyer, a top alcohol fuel driver, sat on the tractor. So a lot of fun with that. Saw a lot of different people out.
Did you have the TikTok guy?
Yeah, what
no way.
Yeah, no way. He's on the tractor. We made an interview with him, and then is it Jaden Littman? She's got the what's her truck called? Something to Prove. 16-year-old girl. I guarantee she got interviewed by everybody. She's awesome. Neat story there.
Witt Farms were there too, weren't they?
Yeah, they were there. They were there in the Scheid booth. Jaden's truck was in the USA East booth. Theobald's were in Bowling Green's booth, and then Jeff Hurt was in the SCS Gearbox booth, and then we had our own booth down on the stadium floor. So we were split out. That place is huge. You can't get through that place in one day and see everything. So we were actually at Lucas Oil Stadium. So we were down with all the toters. There's like the EA, all the electric, the gaming stuff, and then out on the floor was all the toters. And then we were out there and up in the convention center where it was just crazy. But it was good. It was really, really good. But now we have to do even more at PRI next year. But PRI, they told Doug Borth, who works for us, that he's our general manager, that on social media, the polling videos that they have from Bowling Green do better than anything else they have. So we need to get it. We need to get a 4 or 5 engine mod in there is what we need to do, because they had one big motor, but for them to see that, that might even get John Force to stop by and say, "Whoa, what's that?" Be kind of fun.
Those are definitely your most eye-grabbing, especially if you're going to be at a performance race industry where you borrow so much technology, and I think both organizations between pulling and Top Fuel dragsters, drag racing and pulling have always been kind of idea cousins to each other. So yeah, you put one of the unlimiteds in there, and you put an unlimited anywhere, people are going to walk by. It's like dropping a tank in a city square. You're like, whoa, someone's here like that. What is that? So was your booth Outlaws, full pull, or beer money? Or all?
It was a combination. So we had, I don't remember how big it was, but we had room for both tractors. So Gene's Machine paid for part of it, the Outlaws paid for part of it, and then Beer Money Pulling Team paid for part of it. And then we brought Coltrane Energy Drink in because they're a sponsor of the Outlaws, and they do a good job for the sport. And we're trying, they're a startup company. We're trying to get them more exposure. So it was fun. But I saw all the street outlaw guys that we see, all the people we see on TV. It's the largest trade show for motorsports in the world, and pulling was well represented. Like I said, a lot of pulling fans were there, and it was fun to see.
That excites me. That fires me up. What are they going to name?
Got to get them in the stands. Got to get them watching the live streams. That's how we can get more money, into the pullers' pockets, if you will.
I think that means targeting my generation. I don't know if you fall in my generation. I feel like you're like in between the generations, but pulling for so long was such an agriculturally exclusive sport. And as I've gone to more agriculture things, I go to a lot of antique tractors and steam shows and things. Well, now the grandfathers and the great grandfathers aren't in it, or they've passed away. And the younger and younger generation is getting more and more into it, but it's no longer I drove that 190 XT. It's got so many foot-pounds of torque. It's more of the, like me, I like doing the stats. I like doing the competition. And the people I talk to can really latch onto pulling from that aspect. So I think if you send it the direction of that demographic, you're going to see a lot of people in the seats. And I think that's where the live stream comes in huge too. I think the live stream is really fine tuning itself now.
Yeah. So Tony Stewart and Lisa, what's his wife's name that runs the car? Is it Lisa Pruitt? I think it's something else. It's Pruitt. I know that, but yeah, he's driving the Top Fuel dragster next year. They made that announcement in HRA, but they were there last year too. It's Leah Pruitt. It's Leah Pruitt. That's right. I do that. And then I just got a text message that, the St. Jude's raffle tractor.
Did I win it?
It raised $103,000 for St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
That's pretty incredible.
And then on the Badger State show that we do before this show, every Monday night, Down and Dirty with the Badger State Tractor Pullers, we had Chad Richardson on from Paris, Missouri, High Limit Productions.
Yeah,
they raised $81,000 with their pull for
Children's Miracle Network.
Yep. And then Badger State for American Family Children's Hospital this year raised $162,000. So pretty awesome.
Have you been to the pull in Paris?
Yep, I got to announce it in 2019 or 2020, one of those 2 years. I remember that right before COVID. So
yeah,
that would have been 19. That would have been 19 then.
Really good Western Series show.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, Mike, thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you to everybody who watched the Ryan DeBroux interview. I'll go and I love the couple that he was we describing leaving the starting line. I just got all giddy. It's like, yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
You're gonna go out to your garage and sit on High Tech Redneck for the next 15 minutes, just to.
High Tech Redneck's back in Ohio, hoping for a big envelope from the National Farm Machinery Show here this week, and then it's still at Mike Beck's house, the guy I bought it from, and then he'll get it set up for Louisville with us. if we get it in. Otherwise, it'll be at the Pullers Championship. So, yep, it's all good. It's all good. Mike, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Working on a couple big names like Ryan. It's fun having big name pullers on the podcast so many nights. Get a lot of people watching. Everybody knows who they are. Working on some pretty big stuff here. But then we kind of hit the holidays. We'll have to talk about it because Christmas is on Monday night and New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. So I don't want to do a podcast on Christmas Day. I love pulling, but not that much, Mike.
New Year's, did you say New Year's Day?
Let me look. Or is it New Year's Eve? It's Monday. So Christmas is 2 weeks from today. Do you have your shopping done yet, Mike? So
There's some boxes sitting in the corner over there.
fair enough. Yeah. So New Year's Day. Yeah. Christmas and New Year's Day. We could probably do it on New Year's Day.
I think New Year's Day would be a good one. I think people are going to be, holding the ice packs on the head, and they're going to be saying, "Oh," and they're going to be wanting to look at something on their phone, and
yeah.
Or if they've got a headache, I'm sure that Mike Idle and Jason Schultz have very soothing voices. So,
Oh yeah. No, we definitely.
I think a New Year's Day show would be a lot of fun, actually.
No, we'll do one. I don't want to do one on Christmas, but we have to get Ron Stone on and Dan Mayer and those. They're good announcers. So they got them sweet voices.
Yeah.
So, this comment right here. Many, many racetrack owners came up to me from the South and said, "How do I have a truck and tractor pull at my event?" And these guys have campgrounds, and their campgrounds. So we hear these $50,000, $100,000 to win races. The campgrounds are funding a lot of that stuff. If they $600 for a camp spot for the weekend, and 1,000 of those, that's where some of that stuff's coming from. I talked to a guy from Brunswick, Georgia, who has a huge racetrack down there, and he wants to have a truck and tractor pull down there. So I'm going to share his information with the associations. But this is William Lundberg here. He's a huge Bowling Green fan, and he's always on the show. He changes. I think he must get in trouble a lot. He changes the name of his YouTube page all the time. No, but it's fun. It's fun. So we appreciate doing this every Monday night. Thank you for watching. You can listen on iTunes and Spotify starting tomorrow. Every week, Mackenzie loads up the audio and puts it out on Spotify and iTunes. So Mike Idle, thank you much for coming on. Ryan DeBroux is awesome. He's a great guy, great family, great story, great for the sport. Just flat ass great for the sport. So everybody have a good week, and we'll see you next Monday. See you, bud.